Imagine a pope whose vanity rivaled kings, whose appetite for luxury and scandal overshadowed his reign, and whose death sparked whispers that still echo over 500 years later. He was said to have died in the most shocking and intimate way imaginable, in the papal bed while being sodomized by a young page boy. Was it fact, fiction, or something in between? Stay with us till the end, because what you think you know about Pope Paul II might shock you, and the truth behind this infamous scandal is far stranger than you could imagine. Rome in the 15th century was a city of contradictions. Art and culture flourished, fueled by a Renaissance spirit that celebrated beauty, learning, and innovation. The invention of the printing press was beginning to spread knowledge faster than ever before. But beneath this glittering surface lurked a world of political intrigue, backroom deals, and personal scandal. The papacy wasn't just a spiritual office. It was a throne of immense power, controlling not only the spiritual direction of Europe, but also the delicate balance of politics across nations. Popes were both religious leaders and political players. They wielded armies, negotiated treaties, and influenced monarchs. Public perception was everything, and in this environment, a pope's personal life could become a weapon or a liability. Enter Pope Paul II, Pietro Barbo, a man whose life and pontificate would become a case study in how personal reputation, rumor, and history intertwine. Unlike his predecessor, Pius II, a politically active pope known for his diplomacy, Paul II would leave a different kind of legacy, one rooted in scandal, eccentricity, and a public image that was impossible to ignore. Pietro Barbo was born in 1417 into a Venetian noble family. He had ambition, intelligence, and charisma, qualities that served him well as he climbed the ecclesiastical ladder. Yet those who chronicled his life often noted a singular obsession: his appearance. Historical sources describe him as a man deeply concerned with beauty, symmetry, and impression. He adored fine clothing, lavish jewelry, and his personal grooming became the talk of Rome. He spared no expense on garments, adorning himself in silks and velvets, and his papal tiara was reportedly encrusted with sapphires, pearls, and diamonds. Public accounts note that he even applied blush to his cheeks, a scandalous act for a pope expected to embody modesty and piety. Some sources, perhaps exaggerating for effect, suggested that he spent more time preparing his appearance than attending to matters of church policy. Rumors of his sexuality emerged almost immediately. Satirical poems, circulated widely in Rome, hinted at his preference for male companions. The city's penchant for gossip meant that every display of affection, every fond glance, and every private meeting with young men became fodder for speculation. The line between private indulgence and public scandal was thin, and Paul II walked it with little concern for discretion. Yet the rumors that would define his legacy were not just about clothing or companions. They were far more sensational, and they culminated in the circumstances of his death. Paul II's eccentricities went beyond vanity. He was famously obsessed with melons. Accounts suggest he consumed them in prodigious quantities, often to the point of sickness. Every meal reportedly featured melons, and it became a defining feature of his personal indulgence. Historians speculate that this obsession was more than culinary. It symbolized the Pope's love for sensual pleasure, the joy of taste, and the indulgence of desire. Alongside these harmless quirks were far darker and more sensational rumors. Some stories suggested that Paul II derived pleasure from witnessing the suffering of others, particularly young boys, while he gorged himself on melons. Satirical poems depicted him as gluttonous, vain, and morally corrupt. It's likely these accounts were exaggerated, political, or purely fictional. Yet they persisted, becoming a staple of Rome's gossip culture. Rome was a city alive with spectacle and satire. Artists, poets, and courtiers often lampooned the powerful, and Paul II's flamboyance made him an irresistible target. Every ornate outfit, every carefully styled appearance, every public display of charm and indulgence fueled stories of moral corruption. But while these rumors made Paul II infamous, they were nothing compared to the scandal that would follow him to the grave, an event that would blur the lines between legend and history. On July 26, 1471, Pope Paul II died. The official account listed a heart attack, reportedly brought on by excessive indulgence, particularly his fondness for melons. A seemingly mundane explanation. But as often happens with public figures, the mundane rarely satisfies the imagination. Whispers persisted that the Pope died in far more intimate circumstances. According to long-standing rumors, he was in bed with a young page boy when his heart gave out, succumbing to the excitement of the encounter. The story, scandalous and salacious, spread like wildfire. It was repeated, embroidered, and immortalized in the annals of gossip for over 5 centuries. Historians agree that this account is likely false, but its endurance is telling. Why would a story with little verifiable evidence persist for centuries? What does it reveal about the society that created and circulated it? The truth, as we shall see, lies not just in Paul II's life, but in the culture of Rome itself. The sensational rumor of his death is just one piece of a larger story about power, image, and the enduring appeal of scandal. Rome's obsession with Paul II was not merely moralistic, it was political. Rumors and satire were powerful tools, capable of shaping public perception and undermining authority. Rivals and critics delighted in portraying him as a glutton, a vain dandy, and a morally corrupt pope. Poems lampooning his love of beautiful clothing and male companions circulated widely, reaching the ears of the public and the court alike. These rumors persisted because they resonated with a collective fascination for scandal. People were eager to believe the worst about the powerful, particularly a pope who flouted conventional expectations of piety and modesty. The tales of indulgence, cruelty, and sexual misbehavior created a narrative more compelling than his actual political or religious contributions. If you're captivated by the secret, scandalous lives of the papacy, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, because what comes next is even more astonishing. Despite these rumors, Paul II did leave a mark on history, albeit a modest one. His introduction of the printing press to Rome allowed knowledge to spread, facilitating the Renaissance and contributing to the intellectual growth of the city. This achievement, however, is often overshadowed by the more titillating tales of his private life. Public memory, it seems, is rarely kind to nuance. The eccentricities, indulgences, and alleged scandals of Paul II became the defining features of his legacy. He is remembered less for his contributions to knowledge and culture than for the stories that made him a figure of fascination, and often derision. Yet even as we explore these tales, one question remains: how much of what we know is true, and how much is the result of centuries of rumor, exaggeration, and myth-making? Pope Paul II's story illustrates a timeless truth. History often remembers the story, not the facts. Across the centuries, powerful figures have been immortalized for the rumors and myths that surround them. From kings to popes, it is the scandal, the forbidden, the shocking, and the morally questionable that captures imagination. Yet these stories also serve a purpose. They reveal societal values, fears, and desires. The fascination with Paul II's alleged private life reflects not only the public's appetite for gossip, but also the tensions inherent in power, morality, and human desire. They challenge our understanding of leadership, morality, and the intersection of personal life and public duty. And when rumor becomes history, what does it say about the society that preserves it? So, what can we take away from the tale of Pope Paul II? A man whose life was marked by indulgence, eccentricity, and rumor, whose death was officially ordinary yet shrouded in scandalous whispers. A pope whose legacy is a mixture of fact, myth, and legend, reminding us that history is as much about storytelling as it is about truth. If you've been intrigued by this story, hit subscribe, like this video, and ring the notification bell. Countless more secrets of the papacy await, tales of power, scandal, and human frailty that defy expectations and challenge history itself. And remember, history is never just what happened. It's the stories we tell, the gossip we repeat, and the legends that refuse to die.